Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? How's life?
Life is good. Life is good. I'm actually I'm down in Simsbury, Connecticut for the USA Hockey U15 16 festival like development camp that's going
All
on down
right.
here. So
Well,
came
that's
down to
exciting.
watch a little bit about
Yeah, you'll
that.
probably see you'll probably see a lot of good skaters down there. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, you ready? We'll just jump right into it. I get
Yeah, let's
getting
get into it. Yeah, hit me.
yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Great. So, well, first, congrats, right?
Thank you.
So, a new role. But typically, I like to start just to make sure. So, you, like a lot of prep coaches, right? You're a prep school graduate, Tabor,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yep. Graduated from Tabor Academy in 1998.
Yep.
Went to two prep schools actually. I went to Choate Rosemary Hall for 2 years,
Okay.
and then needed another year.
Yep.
And so decided to reclassify and went to Tabor Academy for 3 years.
Great.
So yeah, it was great.
And Midwest, right? Like a
Yeah.
Midwest guy. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
came out here. We're around the same age, so that they're like that big wave of those Midwestern guys who all came out here. That I
Yeah.
played with a bunch of them too.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. And my parents both attended New England boarding schools. And
Oh
so
wow.
and then my sister went to Choate, my older sister went to Choate. And at the time, the hockey options in Chicago in terms of growth with hockey and academics were limited.
Right.
And the high school hockey scene in Chicago wasn't, as challenging of a hockey environment. And I think like a lot of people that are still looking at prep schools right now, I wanted to play for my school. I
Yeah.
thought that would be something really neat to do, and the boarding environment looked like a lot of fun. And obviously, it worked out. I mean, I'm doing it for a
Yeah.
living, so it
Yeah.
was a really fun experience. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and it's amazing, like, we're the same age, but in how much like things have changed and all of that, but that, for kids and families, right, that reaching that point that whether they're 15 or 16 years old, of being able to balance, like have a great academic experience
Yeah.
and play hockey at a high level, like
Mhm.
there still aren't a lot outside of the prep world. I know even now with like, online schools or different
Right.
academies or things like that, like I think that motivation to go play for boarding schools for hockey players like hasn't changed much in,
Yeah,
now
I would
seeming
agree.
longer and longer from when we graduated.
Yeah,
But
the value proposition is still there. It is.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it it's a great environment. Obviously, the climate with hockey is changing and will continue to change with juniors and club hockey and hockey academies and things like that. And I don't think that there's any bad route if you want to continue hockey.
right.
That's for sure. But the value of playing for your school and getting to grow as an individual, both hockey academically and socially, still really exists in secondary schools and in boarding schools in New England.
Yeah,
And there's, obviously I'm a Brooks person now, and there's so many special things that I feel about Brooks, but and I tell families this, and I've been telling them recently when they're weighing their options with different boarding schools, particularly in New England, you can't lose. You cannot
yeah,
lose. There's so much to like about so many different places, and every school's got something unique. Every school's got something different. The hockey piece is still special, whether that's you're going on to play college hockey or you're just looking for a great prep school hockey experience. The memories that you make and what you can get out of the school and athletics, it's still there. It's
yeah,
still there. And I think it'll be there for a long time. And still a neat thing.
yeah. And you also have the perspective of, we're going to talk obviously more about Brooks, and there's
Mhm.
part of me that
Sure.
has a real affinity for like, that set schools of that size, right? Like my
Mhm.
son is that I worked at those places. But prior to Brooks, you were at Hotchkiss, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And how long were you at Hotchkiss?
I was only at Hotchkiss for 10 months.
Okay.
And
Yep.
that was not by design. We thought we'd
Yeah.
be there for a long time. I was at Lake Forest College in their admission office.
Yeah.
Lake Forest College, 30 miles north of Chicago. And my admission territory was out east. So I was just
Yeah.
frequenting the New England boarding school, the job at Hotchkiss popped up. We went there, going from a city to that rural was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to do college guidance and continue with hockey, and the opportunity at Brooks popped up.
Yep.
And so I loved my 10 months at Hotchkiss. Great place, still is a great place. But it was neat to come here and kind of be this close to the Boston area was great.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I bring it up too because I think sometimes for a lot of families I work with, right, there's prep school becomes this kind of like generic term, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm going to go to
Yeah,
prep school, right? And I
sure.
I often talk about the idea of like for lots of reasons these schools are so different and as you said no good or bad um but like to me it's like the difference between a place like Hotchkiss and Brooks being able to like feel the size difference, right? Like we'll talk about the location, but to me there's also a little bit of difference of like when you go from that medium to larger
Absolutely.
size school and how that
Yeah.
feels.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was very different. I mean, Hotchkiss, as you said, was a little bit larger, and I think, academically, um, very challenging.
Yeah,
Very,
different academic
different
culture.
school
Yep.
culture.
Yep.
Like one is not better than the other.
Right.
But I think that the students at Hotchkiss are very bright, very driven. We have a lot of very smart kids here at Brooks. But yeah, very academically challenging. Here at Brooks, we're lucky we've got a range of student, which is a really nice thing. Uh,
You hit the nail on the head. I think when I talk about academics for families, the big thing I talk about is like there's different academic culture at
yep,
schools, right? It's not like the idea of an A paper at this school is going to be, would be a C paper at this one, right? Like the culture is different. And you hit the word I always use that idea of range, right? Like a top student at any one of these schools, if you move him or her to another one, like they're probably going to be the top student there, and the median student probably looks really similar, but the
yep,
range of students that some schools can serve is going to be different.
yes, yep.
So
Very.
what year now is this for you at Brooks?
I'm in my 14th year at Brooks.
Yep.
Yeah, year 14. I've been in the college office the whole time. I was with the hockey program from the 2012 season, 2012-2013 season through 2015, 2016. Then I took 5 years off to be the head baseball coach here.
Yeah.
When they needed I was coaching both at the time, and then they
Yeah.
needed a baseball coach. And then I've been back with the varsity boys hockey program for the last 3 seasons.
Yep. And
And
now stepping into the role as the head coach, which
yeah,
is
here we
super
go.
exciting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very exciting. It's going to be very challenging. There's so much that goes along with it. Dave Reese did a fantastic job here.
Yep.
Dave Reese is a good friend, someone I've coached with for years. We won a lot together,
Yep.
and I've certainly learned a lot from him. And so, I think taking over the program and taking over the reins is definitely going to be challenging, but ultimately rewarding and fun. And you
Yeah.
get to work with the kids in hockey, and it's going to be a good time. It'll be a new challenge, but one that I'm excited for. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I know in my like obviously I've known Brooks and dealt with it, but like over the last couple of years, I've had a number of students go through the admissions process there. Um, what I've always I think Brooks does an exceptionally good job of, and when I talking to your admission office, and obviously when I was talking to Dave, but now even you and I over the last month or so talking
yeah,
about students, like um, you know, I think the attention you guys, I feel like from your admission office, but I know even talking with you, the questions around like character and culture and is this student going to be a good fit for our community and like I always feel that, I know speaking with your admissions office, once we've sort of hit that threshold of like, okay, academically, we feel like this student can find success here, there, there's a sense of, I think, pride and community around like a Brooks student and what you guys, what is the environment and community you want to create that you're really thoughtful in trying to make sure the student is going to fit into it.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, we are very small, and so we want to make sure that the kids that want to be here, the families that want to pursue Brooks, that they're kind of all in on everything.
Yeah,
In a sense. I mean, I think that when you look at a boarding school for hockey reasons, that's where it begins.
yeah,
A lot of students and families, they want to do this and they want to pursue a school for a particular sport. And that's hockey, that's baseball, that's football, that's anything. But when they come here, you obviously want that to be an important part of what they do, but you ultimately want it to be a fraction of the entire experience.
yep,
I think that's the most important part. I mean, we have a young man who's here now who came here as a sophomore and was very driven by hockey. And he's a damn good player. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
darn good
No,
player.
that's okay. Yeah.
Really good player. And I think ultimately, could be a college hockey player. But the things that he's now getting involved in at the school, either through our students, a forefront program where he's going to have an internship through Brooks at a financial firm this summer. He was in a
Yeah.
play for the first time this year. He wants to be a dorm prefect. To see him kind of still have that drive and that commitment to play the sport that he loves so much and getting that involved in his school, that's where the difference is made. Because
Yeah.
that's when as alums you go back to the school and you say, this is what the school did for me, and this is what I was able to do. And hockey was still a major part of that. You want that investment to be full from all the families as far as what they want to pursue. And we're lucky that we're small enough that we can be that intentional,
Yep.
not only about selling those opportunities, but attracting the kind of families and students that we want here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a nice deal. So,
Well, and I say this a lot too. What I love about your, schools of your size, so right in that kind of 300 to 400 student range,
mhm.
is, as you said, like you need kids who want and are going to be willing to get involved with lots of things and get out of their comfort zone. And like,
Yeah.
I think the value for a student of, as you say, like my passion is hockey. When I come here, and there are all those stories of kids finding another passion or interest because they were forced to do it. I
Mhm.
also remind, I know I certainly lived this. I hope this for my son who's in a school of similar size.
Yeah.
Um, that like, and that like for the young man you described, if it turns out he's a great college hockey player and he's going to go on and play Division I college hockey or play at Middlebury College or
Mhm.
wherever it is, I want, and I feel like boarding schools do this really well, particularly schools of your size like Brooks. I always feel like students are in a much better position if they're sitting there and going like, okay, I have this great college hockey opportunity now that I had because I had this great
Right.
experience at Brooks. And I know I want to do that, right? Because I've had these options and opportunities to try all of these different things. And there's nothing that I'm as passionate or like as much as I do love playing hockey and not be in a situation where it's just like, well, I haven't really had a chance to do anything else, so I guess this is the track I stay on.
Yeah.
Like I think, Brooks in particular, but schools of that size, which is where I brought
Yeah.
up kind of that size difference, like the value of that part of the experience for kids is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, to that point, being that kind of size and just encouraging people to try different things.
Yeah.
Ultimately they are teenagers. Ultimately, the hockey players that come here, yeah, we've had a lot of college hockey players come through here.
Yep.
But a lot of them are, as professionals are doing other things than lacing up their skates. Most end up doing that.
Yep.
And so to find out, and stretch themselves and to find out the things that they can do when they try is really some good building blocks and some good life lessons.
So you have two, and most of the other coaches all the other coaches I've talked to have different roles. I don't know that I've talked to anyone yet who, of the coaches who are as involved in the college placement piece,
Mhm.
obviously, as you
Yeah.
are, right? So I'm curious I think one of the great things about boarding schools is not just, I think, the preparation for college, but ultimately we know this. It's about creating opportunities for kids and making sure that they're going to have great college options. Like for you now in 14 years, like what do you feel like when colleges are talking to you about Brooks students, like what's distinctive about that experience or helps them stand out? I know you mentioned the internship program,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
what are the parts of it that are pretty distinctive for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, if you're a recruited athlete, the first thing that any college coach is going to ask of you is, can I see your transcript and can I see your scores?
Yep.
That's where it all begins. And it's if we're going to have a conversation and we're going to pursue this, I need to find out how you've done in school. It's rewarding, I think, in a lot of ways to work with a lot of student athletes here as far as course selection process goes, what to take, how far to push themselves, the importance of performance, the importance of being a well-rounded student, the importance of not just focusing on one subject area that maybe they enjoy a little bit more than others,
Yeah.
but just demonstrating success and demonstrating academic balance. I think that those are things that we're lucky that we get to work with students here, both, athletes or non-athletes.
Yeah.
uh, in that sense. You know, from a hockey lens, it's always, you know, we're in a position right now where if you want to be a college hockey player and you graduate from a prep school, odds are you are going to be playing at least one more year somewhere.
Yep, for sure.
Somewhere.
Yep.
So I think in those circumstances, we still want the hockey players that have intentions to play junior hockey to go through the process one time,
Yep.
and to apply to schools where they're not necessarily pursuing hockey,
Yep.
to at least have options if they change their mind, or they do what we call the leg break test. Um,
Yep.
God forbid. But it's important where if your senior year in hockey does not work out the way that you'd like to, either through injury or through just changing your mind and saying, you know what, I think I just want to go to school, that you're prepared.
Yeah.
Uh, and whether or not you go on to play juniors after that, at least lay the table where you're thinking about some options. Worked with a player here recently who thought he wanted to play junior hockey next year, and he's a senior. Ended up halfway through his junior year, leading up to January 1st to apply out to some schools, and he's going to college next year, and he's really excited.
Yep.
Uh, and so that's great. And whether or not those, there are a lot of club hockey options out there in college right
And
now.
phenomenal ones.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
phenomenal club hockey. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether that's, and some of them are really really good, and some of them are ones where you can go from prep school and some and play. Now
Yeah,
there are some where you actually need your juniors to go play. It's
for
wild.
sure. Yeah.
Uh, but at the same time, you can have those choices, and
Yeah.
start to evaluate how you want to do those. So, being in the college seat, um, it does kind of it gives us that opportunity to think a little bit more critically about the student, advising them accordingly. I think that the most important message that any coach that is working with a student who has the college process in mind, if you're a prep school coach, to say to them, I think you could play at that next level.
Yep.
Ultimately, it's not my choice.
Right.
I
Yep.
don't make that decision.
I
You know.
I deal.
Yep.
I have the same thing with
Right.
what I'm doing, right? Of
Yes.
I tell parents that all the time, like, ultimately all we can get is honest feedback about where you're going to fit, but like the
Yep.
decision about whether or not you're good enough to play.
Yeah.
Hey, I think your kid's great, and I know you do too, but like we don't make those decisions.
Yeah. We've seen it where we've had players play 2 years of junior hockey and then they don't end up playing college hockey. We've seen it
Yeah.
when we see someone go play 1 year of junior hockey and then go off and play for an SCAC school. And some of those kids, you say, wow, I thought someone would have picked him up. And some of them you say, oh, well, I didn't think that would go as well as it did, but I'm glad that it did. So you never know what kind of hand you're going to be dealt. A lot of it is so much right place, right time.
Well, and I think now too, with so much uncertainty around what that path looks like for kids now, right?
Yeah.
With the C and I don't think anyone can tell you how it's going to go. I think like again, the this is self-promoting, right? We're both in the boarding school business, but
Yeah.
some of the other huge advantage that you hit on around like for recruited athletes in the college process. What I think is great is obviously from a hockey standpoint, the league gets a ton of exposure. So it's the idea of if you're good enough, coaches are going to
Mhm.
see you. But to that end, you know, what I don't think kids get nearly as much if they're going to go, potentially in the academy route or online school or things like that is, you mentioned, now you wear both hats, right? Before a recruited athlete at a school where hey, a college coach comes and says they have interest in this student as an athlete, working in concert with the college office to say, as you said, like these are the courses this student's going to need to be
Right. Yeah.
attractive and admissible at those places. And then I think also specifically for now boys hockey players, right? It's a little bit different for the girls, but that idea of okay, you go play a year or two of junior hockey still getting support from Brooks's college office when it
Yes.
comes time
Yep.
to apply, which is, really different. Like I'm amazed I go to some of these things and hearing kids who, have had these different experiences where they didn't recognize because the online or the cat was like, are these NCAA eligible courses? Did you take enough
Right.
of them?
Yeah.
Middlebury has interest in me, but like, hey, for a NESCAC school, do you have the right number of AP classes?
Mhm.
Or, you know, hey, I might be applying to college 2 years from now. you can still, Brooks is still going to get the recommendations for you and do the transcripts and do all
Yes.
of that. That level of support is so different.
Yeah. No, and it's fun. And once you're here, you're here. And
Yeah.
when you're an alum, you always contact us and we're happy to help you
Yeah.
with that kind of stuff. But and I also think it's important for those that go on and play junior hockey to take a class here or there and stay sharp.
Yep.
I think that those things are critical. But like I said, whether your intentions are to play junior hockey and then go play college hockey or go straight through, we want to make sure that we're advising that academic piece in a good
Yeah.
way. So that's a
Yeah.
really important part.
Well, and you alluded to it before. I think one of the other really, I'd say, not only unique but huge advantages for of Brooks is, um, that location that you guys have, right?
Yes.
Like, I think for a lot of families, not only do they think, but it is true of like, okay, boarding schools are these beautiful campuses in remote areas, which
Mhm.
most of them are, versus where you guys are located.
Yeah. No, it's an advantage as a faculty member.
For sure.
Being that close to a city, I mean, that's great. I think it's also an advantage, for those that are hockey players looking to pick up ice time.
Yep.
Um, I think that that's huge. Obviously, the club scene around here is pretty big. We have a number of players with split season options in the fall, and there are a lot of those because of our proximity to rinks and proximity to Boston. So there's a lot of choices for those reasons. To your point, a lot of schools are remote, and we are remote in some sense. We're kind of tucked away, but then all of a sudden you get into North Andover, and there are things to do.
Right.
And being close to Boston is a great thing. And it's also nice, during our preseason where yeah, we'll be on the ice in preseason, then we're going to go to the Harvard Michigan game,
Yeah.
give them exposure to some college hockey,
Yep.
um, which is really fun and really great to do. So, yeah, I do think I do like the idea that we're close to a lot of things. It also is a big draw for us day student wise. So whether
Yep.
you're a day student or a boarder, I mean, a lot of our boarders board here and they live an hour away,
Yep.
and that's not that uncommon here,
Yep.
which is a good thing. So, yeah, proximity to Boston and being this close is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. So obviously now you're stepping into it, and I don't know how much or what changes, from what maybe have done previously, but I get the question a lot about what does fall hockey look like? So what is your structure set up for the fall season going to be next year?
Yeah, our fall season for next year is mostly going to be split season teams.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, we do not have a Brooks specific New England Fall Prep League team this coming year. Last year that was in place. We kind of surveyed the team and talked to them and said, "What do you want to do?" And it was kind of a mixed bag. So now we're doing a lot of kids are doing split season teams. Our ice will go down here at some point in the fall. We're hoping early October, where kids will have the opportunity to skate here. Whether
Yep.
there will be parts of that will be structured. There will be parts of that should not be structured,
Yeah, I agree.
where they should just go play and just go compete and scrimmage a little bit here and there. There are no shortage of opportunities to skate in the fall, and there aren't at Brooks School. We also have multi-sport athletes. We have two players here that are varsity soccer players. We have one that's a varsity football player. My message to any fall athlete, if you're serious about your fall sport, is to play it and play
Yep.
it to the best of your ability. And if you want to get on the ice when you can, that's fine, but you're not required or mandated to do that because I know you're going to show up in November and be in shape.
Right.
And you're going to be in great shape. We have two soccer players. Our soccer program here is
Phenomenal.
one of New
Yep.
England's best. And next year these two young men, they've got an opportunity of a lifetime to be part of a very special team. Go do that.
Yeah.
Go do that. And then we will be ready for you in November when it's time for you to play hockey. I also think that I think fall hockey is fine. I also think that it's also a place where hockey players can pick up some habits that maybe they don't want. And so I think that a lot of our attention for next year is going to be on off ice conditioning.
Yep.
It's let's make sure that your body and the kinesiology of your teenage body is in good enough form where when we get to the prep school season, it's not breaking down.
Yep.
And
Well,
you're
and
in.
I think it's that idea of I think school and what you're talking about, right? To me, the advantage now of the ice being in earlier and kids doing that, like, I think there's some really good development opportunities that can
Mhm.
happen in that
Yeah.
if that's the end game versus I agree with you when it becomes this exercise of like, we need to do it simply to get in another 25 or 30 games. Like, I don't know that there's as much value in that as opposed
Right.
to, hey, whether it is, between the off ice training we're going to do, and or you're playing a fall sport, and we have opportunities for you to get on the ice and get touches and continue to develop through the fall. And maybe
Mhm.
we're mixing in some games in there. Like to me, I think that model is hugely valuable and I would
Mhm.
argue probably helps accelerate development. But like I agree with you, the idea of like just going out and playing 25, pickup games where you're gonna win or lose 8-0, like I don't know how much value that has.
Yeah, yeah, and it's hard because I think that's the pull. I
Right.
think everyone's going to tell you something different. There are a lot of hockey minds out there, a lot of good hockey minds, that firmly believe in just different things philosophically.
Yep.
And that's okay. And I don't necessarily think one way is better to do it than the other. Our preference is, I want players to come into the November season hungry. I
Yep.
want them excited. I want them ready to play. I don't want them tired. We don't want them to have played so many club games and too many ice sessions where they come in, they're like, wow, okay, now I got to get ready for my prep season. The prep season should be the highlight. And I
Right.
think so and students and different athletes, when you're from the ages of 15 to 19, you have different thresholds for what your body can handle.
Yeah.
So what might work for one student might not work for the other. If you look at a lot of students that come to boarding schools now to play hockey, certainly there are Division One hockey players that have
Yeah.
come to Brooks. There will be Division One hockey players that come to Brooks. There are also hockey players, and generally speaking, a lot of the goal is to play strong Division Three NESCAC or high academic end hockey.
Yep.
In the NESCAC, you are on the ice a few times, maybe two, three times a week in the fall, and you're really not getting after it until November. So if that's that model, we should be emulating that model, thinking about emulating that model, where the focus is more on nutrition, getting your body healthy, playing multiple sports. When your body's growing, you need to move in so many different ways. If you only do one thing, you could possibly get into your hockey season and get hurt.
Yeah,
Your
for
body
sure.
could break down. So I believe philosophically in the full athlete. I really still do. And maybe that's old fashioned and people depending on
I'm
what
with
they
you.
want. But I do believe in fall hockey. I certainly don't think the first time you should be putting on your skates since the summer is tryouts.
Right.
That shouldn't be the first time you get on the ice. But you need to do it at a pace where you're listening to yourself. Where if you're playing another sport, do that. Maybe three times a week is still okay. And being
Yeah.
in the gym and working out and above all else, where you're paying attention to your academics and you're getting ahead in your coursework. Because when you're in the prep school hockey season, your hours are so erratic.
Yep.
You could be going to a school like Brooks where there's one rink and there's four different teams. And
Yep.
so your schedule is not as regulated. And
Yeah.
so getting to the books and getting to your study habits, you want to have a good fall academically to put yourself in a good position to be ready for that season. And so when we're going into the model next year, we want to make sure we're paying attention to all of those things. Really important.
Yeah, and I think for you, as you talked about, like enthusiasm, but also prep school hockey, wherever you go, is played at a really high level.
Yeah.
For you guys, I think being in the ISL, right? Like the sort of one, we'll talk about obviously like the competition within that group of schools is always really high. But I also think, I talk to a lot of my families about one of the things that is really different about those ISL schools, and Brooks being obviously specifically one of them, is because there are no postgraduates allowed, right? Like the
Yeah.
opportunities for students as ninth or 10th graders to play, but then develop through the hockey program and have a 3 or 4 year experience, which is,
Mhm.
really different than some places where, they're going to lose 8 guys and they're going to bring in four, repeat 11th graders and four postgraduates. Like, the ISL model is one that I think serves a you know, I love it for those reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is great. ISL still is great. Like you said, no postgraduates, opportunity to develop. So many kids will go to a school for 4 years.
Yeah,
Not to say if you come as a new junior, that's like a bad thing or anything,
right.
or if you go as a new sophomore to a
No, but
school.
it's that balance, right, of having those
It's
older guys who can come in and make an impact, but providing opportunities for younger
exactly,
guys.
exactly. You're
Yeah,
going to a school for a minimum of 2 years,
right.
and hopefully 4 years, and a lot of kids will go for 3 years. But yeah, you don't have the postgraduate, you don't have the 1 year player. I think that's important. I also think that the ISL is broken up with the Kelleher and the Eberhard divisions, and most of that is based on school size, which is also important.
Yeah,
We want to compete with, we're in the Eberhard. We want to make sure we're as good as Groton, we're as good as Middlesex. We're taking on BB&N. River's another big, strong opponent, in the Eberhard. But the schools that are like ours
yeah,
are the ones that we want to compete with, and those are the ones that we want to see on our schedule and say, let's get those guys this year.
yeah,
That's important. Now, I mean, we still play Belmont Hill, we still play Milton, we still play, St. Paul's, and we go outside the ISL to play those schools, or outside of our own division in the ISL to play those
yeah,
schools. And we want to make sure that we're competing with those as well. Um, but at the same time, there's so many schools that compete with each other prep school wise, and they're just so different as schools. When if we were to play a Nobles, just such a different model than what
yeah,
Brooks is. And so the makeup of their student body is totally different. The makeup of their hockey programs is different. The makeup of what they do. So it's really important for us at Brooks not to compare ourselves to anyone else, but to establish this is what Brooks does. This is how we
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
And jump on board if you want to. If you find like there's a different option that has more of what you're looking for, then go to that school. It's a great place too. But yeah, the ISL is great. The ISL is
yeah.
great, and I really still like what it stands for.
Well, and I think, at Brooks now in the last, like, if we include next, yeah, well, it might have even happened this year, like, is one of the few programs where I think I've had kids who are on the roster who were there as playing as ninth graders, 10th graders, and 11th. So all new
Yeah.
students who entered at, like, a student who entered in their freshman year, their sophomore year, or their 11th grade year and had opportunities to play at the varsity level, right? Like, to
Mhm.
me, that, you know, again, I think, talking with how you guys have evaluated talent and what you're looking for in your program, right? Like I think one that lends to opportunities because you are, I think, really thoughtful, as I said earlier, in making sure that, hey, this isn't just about how many goals this kid is going to score, how many pucks he's going to stop, right? He's got to want to be a part of this community that is pretty special and unique.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. It really is.
Yeah.
It really
Yep.
is. Yeah, that's great.
Um, so well now, so taking over, talk a little bit about what your squad's going to look like next year. I know you and I have
Yeah.
talked a lot about it in the last couple of weeks, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm really excited. There's a great group coming back. Number one, we are returning, we're returning six defensemen.
yep,
We've got some more coming in. There's one player who can play in a couple different positions, which is great. So we do have a decent core returning and two goaltenders, and we've got some kids coming in that might be able to help us. We think will be able to help us. We've got some, that might be in the JV program, and that's okay too. But we're hoping to make sure that those are development opportunities and
yep,
not just places where, that's just where you're going to be forever. So yeah, I think I mean, we are coming off a 5-win season, which nobody likes to hear.
yeah,
Do I think we'll be better next year? I do. The expectation is we will be better next year.
yep,
Not only from those that are coming in, but from those that are returning. Philosophically, we want to compete in practice. We want to compete, 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 compete. Um, be game ready at all times. That's the kind of mentality we want to have. We are also, we haven't played a ton of hockey over a New Year's and years past. This year, that's our intention, whether it's a New Year's tournament or a travel opportunity.
yeah,
Uh, so, we're going to be ready to go. We will have the Brooks Pingree tournament over the holidays, and then come back before Christmas, before the Christmas holiday. That's when that tournament happens, and then we will probably enter some sort of New Year's tournament after that,
yep,
which we haven't done in years past. And then we get right into it in January and February with with the meat of our schedule. But the idea behind it is we are going to be very intentional about going into every game to win it.
Yep.
And that's where our mindset is going to be. Um, at the same time, I think developmentally, we want to be in a position where everyone is still enjoying what they're doing. That it
Yeah, and
doesn't.
I mean I know in like I said the conversations I had with Dave previously and then you and I over the last couple of weeks and I think about the boys I have who are returning to your team but then also the new group of guys I have coming in like yeah, I mean like you said it's I always say coaching prep school hockey you never like you put whatever it's going to be 24 teenage boys together and who knows what result that can lead to, right? But no, I'm excited. I think you guys will have it should be a fun group to
Yeah.
watch. And I think for you guys, like you said, I think it's so challenging too because, in the ISL there are no easy ones, right? Like you got
No.
that schedule
No.
is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the kids learned a lot last year with some tough losses. I think we had six. It was five or six third period leads last year, and we did not win the game.
Yeah,
That was frustrating. We were also riddled with injury. Nobody's fault. Those things happen. So it was tough for us to finish the season. But I think a lot of kids that are coming back next year, having gone through either one or two full ISL seasons, learned a lot about themselves, what it takes to compete, what it takes to be ready, how every game is up for grabs, no matter who you play. You're not worse than anybody. You're not better than anybody.
yep,
You need to be ready to play at all times and be ready to compete. And I think that with the group that we have coming back, with Coach Ian Speliotis coming back, working with the forwards next year again, I really think we're in a position to have a lot of fun with it. And I just want to be a pain to play against.
yeah,
There are definitely schools out there. Like I got to tell you, I hate playing against Groton.
yep.
I love the school. I love their coach. I love all their players. And that is the ultimate compliment that we know when we're going to be going into a third period against Groton, they're just going to keep coming and coming and coming. I want to be that team.
When
I
I was
want to be
coaching
that
at
team.
Berkshire, that was Millbrook, right? Like
Yeah,
you
right.
knew
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's going to be a battle. Like we're like there's doesn't matter what the records are going to be. Like this game's going to be it's going to be a one goal game here late, and we're going to have to
right.
battle.
Yeah, if there's one thing that I want another coach to say about Brooks going into the locker room is, fellas, you can't stop skating because they're not gonna go away. They're just
Yeah,
always gonna be there, no matter what the score is. Finish every game. Play with your hair on fire.
yeah,
Play because you love it. You are a teenager and you get to play in a prep school hockey game on a Friday night. I mean,
pretty awesome.
come on. I mean, come
Yeah,
on. It really is a unique time in life. And so we want to make sure that there's that recognition. Systematically, obviously, we want to be disciplined in our play, but we need to be better at fundamentals, and that's going to be a heavy focus for us next year. We need to make sure that we focus on the individual hockey player, and push someone's buttons in the right way just to make sure that our team is going.
yeah,
And there isn't one way to do that. Some young hockey players will respond to you getting after them a little bit and
yeah,
in getting on them and maybe yelling a little bit here and there. Others need a pat on the back to push their buttons. And so you need to be prepared to learn a lot about the kids and learn about the students and who they are in their everyday lives at school, what pushes them academically, what pushes them socially, to make sure that you can hit those buttons in order to create that cohesive environment where everyone's going. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And I
it's gonna be a big challenge, but it's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna be really, really fun.
Well, I think about that too, again, talking about where I think boarding school, the experience, but again, particularly or specifically at a place like Brooks of a school of your size, you mentioned that idea of finding the way to get a kid, like what is the right way to motivate students and doing
Yeah.
that on an individualized basis. Like to me, that's where I felt like in my years working in schools, the huge advantage of you know, living with the kid in the dorm, teaching them in the classroom, having them
Yeah.
as an advisee, having sit down dinner with them, right? Working with them in the college office, my ability to create a connection and better understand how, like, you know, not only what's motivating the student, but hey, why aren't things going well today? Or what's going on this
Yeah.
week that's making this a little bit more challenging is again, I you know I don't know whether I'm preaching to the choir, but obviously
No,
for
no,
me, the
love it.
advantage of I'm a constant advocate of why boarding schools and the experience is so different. And I think,
Yeah.
the relationships students get to develop with coaches is awesome, but also the ability for a coach to really understand a kid is so different.
Yeah, I agree, and we're lucky to coach in this environment. I mean,
Right.
you're their dorm parent, you're their teacher, you're their college counselor, you're the one who sees them at lunch, you're the one who hears from another teacher saying, "Look, they were very despondent in class today. Make sure you check in on them and see if everything's all right." It is all about relationship building, and
Yep.
that's everything. And to throw hockey as a component in that, um, it's a really special environment to play the sport that you love and go to school.
Yep.
And that's the best thing about New England prep schools. And so lucky to work at one, and as you mentioned, being able to help with the process of character building with students and their families. It's really fun.
Yeah. And then from a hockey standpoint, you're saying too, like I forgot another coach on last week who was talking about um, for kids and maybe for parents too, not really understanding how big the jump to prep hockey is or how high the
Yeah.
level is, right? Like I say this a lot, like kids are playing U15 or U16 AAA hockey, and then the next logical step becomes prep school and not recognizing the idea of like, well, you're jumping to U19 AAA, right? And so like
Right.
what that requires to your point of like, you know, as I said, a coach saying it takes a whole year for kids sometimes to make that adjustment, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
It really does. I mean, the difference between a 15-year-old physically and a 19-year-old in the hockey world is
Huge.
astronomical. Yeah, it's
Yep.
huge. So, I
Yep.
mean, if you're one of the best players on your U14 or your U15 team, it doesn't mean that you're not a good hockey player
Yeah.
when you come to prep school. But the best players in the league are 17, 18, 19 years old, and
Yep.
they physically developed. Some of them are grown men. They've been playing at this level. It is fast, it is physical. So there is a really big jump. There's a big learning curve. We
Some of
all
them
want.
are NHL Division 1 scholarship athletes who are going to be NHL draft picks, right?
That's
Like
right.
so, like
That's right.
like
Yeah.
that's the leap.
Yeah. And so it's you could be, and I think in youth hockey now it's you play for a lot of teams with elite tags. You
Right.
go one team that says elite to another team that says elite, and you go to all the showcases and I'm sure you're a good hockey player and you're good for your age group. But a lot of times, as you mentioned, that transition and what that can translate into in that first year is hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. So I guess my advice to families with that is be patient.
Yep.
Be really patient. Also, make sure that if you are choosing a school and hockey's incorporated in that, think about what your values are with that. Is it important to you to be on that team and be a contributor in that first year? And if it is this the right year to do it? Or are you okay if you say, I'm prioritizing academics? I want my son in that school as a freshman. If it means JV for a year, I just want to learn if there's a developmental path to them to eventually be on the varsity team. Make sure you explore it from that angle.
Yep.
Uh,
And what does that timeline look like, right? I talk to
exactly.
families a lot about
Yeah.
that idea of timeline.
And it's
Uh,
different for everybody. And
for
one is
sure.
not necessarily better than the other. It's just a matter of preference, truly.
Yeah.
It's up to us as coaches to be as honest with people as possible about what we know about a player, their talent level, what we see on video or in person, where they might fit in. And so it's incumbent on us to give that honest feedback.
I
Um,
say too, and this is where we hit on this a little bit earlier, but I know when I'm talking to families about Brooks or some of the other ISL schools, that idea of, hey, if you go in as a ninth grader, whether that means you're on the bottom of the varsity roster or wherever you are, um, the not having as much a concern about, well, they're losing 8 guys and they're going to bring in 4 PGs next year. So my path moving forward might be stymied a little bit by this huge wave of older guys that comes in. Like to me,
right.
it is one of the reasons why a lot of times I know for me, when I'm talking to families whose child like ninth graders or those things of, hey, there's lots of great schools out there. that provide opportunities to younger kids, and
Mhm.
some schools that offer have postgraduates are pretty limited in the numbers they're going to bring in. Others are not, right? And then at ISL schools, hey, the likelihood of you being able to find a timeline and a path that is less likely to be interrupted by sort of this wave of older guys coming in is really different.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's hard, and I certainly with you get a lot of questions of, well, who's coming?
Right.
When are you returning? And it is important. To your point, a lot of people pick prep schools because of hockey.
Yes,
It,
for sure.
it's the gateway to get to an independent school in a lot of ways. It's where the conversation begins.
Yep.
I guess the only piece of advice I would ever give a family is pick this, make sure you're picking the school. Make sure you're picking the school for what it represents and what your student athlete is going to get out of it in and outside of the rink. Because you never know what can happen. You never know. I mean, God forbid, injuries do happen. If it doesn't work out hockey wise, you want to make sure that that person is happy where they're going to school. But it is complicated. It is. It's very
Yeah.
complicated.
Well, no, I tell families all the time, like the number one thing, and this is with everything, and I think I go back to why, like, I got a lot of kids who are at Brooks. I've got a bunch who are going next year, right? That the number one key that's going to determine this being a successful experience for any kid is their happiness. And like, in order for them to be happy, there's three parts of this we have to get equally right, right? It has to be the right fit academically. Like they got to feel challenged, but they can't be in over their head. It has to be the right fit socially, right? A place where they're going to make strong and good connections with their peers and with faculty. And then athletically, it has to be a place that is going to provide you with the opportunities you're seeking, right? Like the outcome you're not going to be able to control, but
Right.
like,
Yeah.
does it provide you with the opportunity
Yep.
to reach those goals? And, only get like, if I tell people this all the time, like, look, if you go to a place and, you know, hockey, it's great, but socially or academically, it's not a good fit. Like, that's going to be a miserable experience that's going to
Yeah.
negatively impact hockey. And conversely, like, hey, if you're really happy at the school and academically you're doing well, but you're not going to have the hockey opportunities you want, like, he's
Yeah.
probably not going to be happy there either. And, I go back to saying, like, I think you guys do this exceptionally well, was the
Oh,
long
thank
way
you.
around
Yeah.
me saying how I think I get there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate
Yep.
it. No, I mean, you nailed all the right points. It's a lot
Yeah.
to think about, and it's a big family sacrifice. It's a huge family sacrifice to do in an independent boarding school. It
Yeah.
is. And like I said, there's so many good ones out there.
Yeah.
You can't lose. You just can't lose if you do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll always be an advocate, whether it's
Well,
Brooks or not. Yeah. So
Brooks is a great one. So,
it's a good one. Yeah, we got a good
yeah,
operation. We like it. That's for
great. Well, we'll keep in touch.
Yeah,
Let me
thanks.
know if you
Thanks
need
so
anything,
much.
and I'm sure we'll bump into ourselves in a rink here over the spring or summer. So,
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Brad. Really good to
all right.
reconnect with you after all
Yeah,
these years. And yeah, have a great spring and thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
great. Thanks, Andy.
All right, thanks. Take care. Bye.